So this is a continuation of the video I made on manure vacuum that I use to suck up horse manure out in our pasture. Here's kind of the overview of it again. Probably best to watch the other video before you watch this one. It's a standard, not a standard, but it's a plain old Rubbermaid two-wheeled cart. Nothing special about that. I made a plywood top to fit the size it was, and there's foam, rubber, like what do you call that stuff? The stuff you use to seal like around doors and windows, not the spray can, but the sticky roll of stuff you put on all around the perimeter of the top of the plywood to seal it tightly against the plastic top of the cart. And then the big differences are the backpack leaf blower that I am using now replaced the one I had before. The other one was a steel and it burned up. It burned up because it needed 89 octane fuel, and it doesn't say that anywhere except in the fine print. And so it was probably better because it allowed me to purchase a different model, more standard two-cycle engine that starts a little better and was easier to work with. This one is laying down. The other one, if you remember, or if you watched the other video, was standing up and it was attached to a plenum. And I thought about it and realized, well, there's really no reason that it cares what orientation it is. It's in. The carburetor will run in any orientation. So if you imagine this being a leaf blower, it's right now it's laying flat, and over here this is the side where the hose would be on to blow the leaves, and this is the side you'd have on your left hip. That's the little button that controls the throttle and the shutoff. And I had to make a few more changes on this one than I did on the steel just because of the design and the orientation, but I had to take the gas tank completely off and mount it separately on the top, and that required a few minor changes. I had to make different fuel lines because the length was different and kind of the routing was a little bit different, but that's relatively easy to do. And then the other thing that is a bit of a challenge is you've got to mount this so it's airtight, and you can see between these little plastic fingers that you see the edge of the plywood sandwich that I've built up to just the right height so that I can screw the backpack blower to the plywood. I put a layer of caulking in there and squeeze that to make that as airtight as I can get it, because you don't want any air leaks so that all the air is being sucked through the hose. I guess since I'm right here, you can see, if I pick this up a little bit, you can see the gray foam tape that I have on there. That's what seals against the top of the enclosure. The other really big change I made that made a big improvement is this sucker hose. So this right here, you can kind of get a feel for how flexible it is when I bend it. I had that black heavy drainage plastic tile, I don't know what you call that stuff, on this thing before, and it was way too heavy, way too stiff, and it just didn't work very well. And this stuff is really readily available once you know what to look for, but this is for a commercial dust collection system for a woodworking shop or a carpenter shop, and it's not too expensive. It's been a while now. I think I paid like 30 bucks for a roll of this that's like whatever that is, 10 or 15 feet long, and it expands and contracts easily, and it bends real easily, and it works in the warm and cold temperatures. So I'm really happy with that. The only problem is attaching it at the end. You've got to do the hose clamp thing. It doesn't use, there's standard fittings that go on dust collection stuff, and they don't really work on what I'm doing. So you have to kludge the ends a little bit, but again, that's not hard to do. You can see the whole thing. There's the plastic vacuum sucker. That's the part that sucks up the manure. Just to review, this thing is good in the grass. In fact, it's great in the grass, but you can't use it in the gravel or on limestone because the impeller in the leaf blower is plastic. All the parts are plastic, and so they won't survive very long if they have any of that grit coming through the system. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, when you pick up the manure, you better off waiting a few days till it dries out, or waiting if it's colder like it is here now. It's in the fall. It gets pretty cold at night, and it kind of halfway freezes. It makes it a lot easier to pick it up with the tube without it getting stuck in there. If you got all the moisture and in the manure, it gets stuck, and it's kind of like a cookie cutter. So then you got to bang the thing like crazy to get the stuff loosened up. That's about it. The only other problem I have a lot with this is the mice love to live in it. So if you have somewhere like a shop or whatever you can keep it in, I'm keeping it out in the pasture in a tent, so it's pretty vulnerable to all the creatures. So every time I go out and use it, I have to bang out all the tubes and the container and get all the mice to get out of the thing. That's it. Have fun if you build one.